Welcome to the new Cyber Frontier, bringing you the latest news and initiatives that focus on the development of cybersecurity economics. You don't have to be a computer or cybersecurity expert to get plugged in. Your host brings it straightforward, asks the tough questions, and brings the cyber world to a level of understanding for everyone. You can find us on the web at www.newcyberfrontier.com. Now join our host as he introduces the topic for today's new Cyber Frontier.
Welcome to today's episode of New Cyber Frontier. On today, we have Taylor Mary, who is the Director of Security Operations at Flexport and involved with shipping logistics supply chain, which most of us is very near and dear to our hearts lately. And glad to have him on to talk about some of those things that he deals with on a daily basis. Taylor, thanks for joining today. How are you?
Doing pretty well. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, glad to have you on to talk about this topic. But first of all, we like to get like a little personal with our guest. Give us your background. Tell us who you are, what makes you tick, and what types of things you enjoy.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, so I've been in the security industry for a good portion of my career, coming up from a lot of IT infrastructure and background, and building up on a career of having various different types of environments and challenges to secure. Moving into Flexport, which I came into 2 years ago, has been a very different set of challenges. I had a lot of background in some very heavily regulated industries and like the pharmaceutical space and the like. So coming today and just passing my 2-year mark at Flexport and an organization that is focused globally on shipping and logistics has been a pretty unique ride. So security all around is definitely a big passion of mine. And outside of that and in a normal world that is not undergoing a global pandemic, it's something that I love to travel around and snowboard and scuba dive and have a pretty fun life.
Awesome. So shipping logistics, how big is Flexport? I mean, how many countries do you do shipping with international, with ocean travel, trains, planes, automobiles? What does that entail, the full scope of what you guys do?
Absolutely. Well, Flexport has kind of two parts to its business and organization. We are part freight forwarder and we're part technology company. A lot of the work that I do is on the technology side of the org, building and securing, not only our IT infrastructure, but also all that goes into the platforms that we are building to help make global trade easy for everyone. On the freight forwarding side, we are global. We have teams in Europe, Asia, the United States, both on the engineering and operations side. And we help to facilitate cargo for companies all around the world. One of our biggest trade lanes is known as the Trans-Pacific Eastbound, which is basically the route from Asia to the United States. So a very large investment in what we do goes into helping to support movement of cargo. Using all modes of transit. We're freight forwarders at the end of the day, so it's getting products from point A to point B, and that could involve 1, 2, 3, 4 modes of transit, trying to help a business get their goods moved around the world.
So do you own your own shipping, like cargo ships and everything, or do you just do the logistics of coordination and everything?
Yeah, it's all the logistics. We don't own any. We did have when I joined for about a year. We did have our own 747. It was chartered and used to. I think it made 2 flights a week, as I recall, between Asia and the U.S. But we ended that. So we don't move anything on our own. We have some of our own warehouses in certain locations around the world, but We don't have any boats or planes or trains of our own to play with.
Gotcha. Well, let's take a break here from our sponsors. We'll be right back in a minute.
Blockframe Technology offers next-generation blockchain managed trust and security. Unique non-fungible tokens are used to secure software bills of materials to provide data quality and security for every transaction in your supply chain. Deploy advanced peer-to-peer product security, scale zero trust capability to millions of IoT devices, allow vendor tracking and accountability, and rapidly reset from compromise. Unchangeable, time-sequenced blockchain data provides next-generation security using machine learning trust algorithms and audit analytics. Start securing your supply chain today by contacting Blockframe at www.blockframetech.com.
Welcome back to New Cyber Frontier. On today, talking to Taylor Mary, the Director of Security Operations at Flexport. And we were talking before the break about modes of transportation and cleared up that you do the logistics and the booking of it, but you don't own and operate the transit lines and trains and planes and automobiles. So yeah, that makes a big distinction there, that you're more end-to-end, keeping track of where they're at. Is it tracking in transit, or is it just making the route and doing the handoffs or with the companies? What is it that you do on the digital basis for this end-to-end, say, one transit from its origin to its delivery?
Yeah. It's a little bit of all of the above. I mean, we're trying to find innovative ways to kind of improve the visibility for our customers at the end of the day. A lot of the problem with the global shipping and logistics industry is that it's still very heavily paper focused.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of paper pushing that goes around. I think in the context of our freight forwarding organization, the amount of email that goes back and forth between businesses, logistical partners, and our teams here is something, volumes of something I've never seen before. We're an organization of 2,000 plus employees. We brought in a mail security vendor, and when we started to integrate and they started processing through our emails to look for bad things, they were like, "Oh my gosh, I have never seen people with inboxes of this size." So lots and lots of email. And what we're really trying to do is figure out ways to provide more digitization, so that we can leverage the data that is in all of this paper and all of these scanned documents and the like, start to bring them back and use that information to help make better use of that information, provide better visibility for people, provide better predictability, kind of remove a lot of what had historically been kind of an opaque box, such that you get a notification that someone picked up goods at a particular location, and then you wouldn't hear anything until they arrived at where you were expecting them to land. And then you'd get a bill, and you'd have all of these extra overages saying that, that cargo sat on a dock for a couple of extra days. So you were whacked with some storage fees because the trucker didn't come to pick it up and bring it to your warehouse, et cetera, et cetera. So there was this whole part in the middle that we've been working to try to solve, such that a business has much better visibility into where in the world things are. So things like electronic tracking information and devices, IoT types of devices, all that sort of stuff is stuff that we're interested in partnering with organizations to give that level of visibility to people, and in the end, hopefully help to facilitate a digital revolution within the space, as we look to bring forward more of a SaaS platform that other freight forwarders like Flexport can plug into to use our platform to drive their business. The net result should be such that the entire global trade ecosystem starts to leapfrog ahead and become a lot more nimble, a lot more transparent, and even competitive in the marketplace.
Interesting. So do you Is the information in the transit and the tracking and everything, is it more publicly accessible, or is it contain a lot of privacy information to the actual vendor route, whatever itself?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's kind of one of the interesting things, and where this industry has stayed a little bit in the dark ages by being so paper based is that as with just about any other industry, you have bunch of piles of papers sitting in a file cabinet. It's just secure because no one's able to get to it very easily. Once we start to digitize that, once we start to aggregate that all of that information and collect it, of course, there's a wealth of information that we as an enterprise can start to use it to make business decisions, to help other companies make business decisions. But when we look at the context there, you think about a bill of materials for some goods that are coming from a warehouse in Asia to the United States. Some companies probably don't really care about a competitor knowing what's on that manifest. However, there are some companies that are very secretive about what is on those manifests, and they want to ensure that we are keeping their information secure and not sharing it with their competitors. So, it's just very much something that's going to start to come to the forefront as a lot of companies realize that a lot of that information isn't as private as it used to be, even though it was, when you're dealing with customs agencies and whatnot and government agencies, there is a notion for some degrees of public information being out there.
Yeah. A lot of times, even if the bill of materials isn't too private, the numbers of items transferred from one location to another, sold in one region, becomes economically confidential to companies in a lot of ways.
And in the aggregation of that information, not necessarily a single shipment, but if we can pull up, all of that information over the past 10 years, and there's lots of way that information can be used for good and for bad. And, of course, if I'm in a highly competitive industry, I might not want that information to be directly available to a lot of my competitors.
Yeah. So is that a big part of what you, as working on technology, are moving forward, or looking at how to make this more effective, but keep that transparency, or need to keep the transparency out of the scope there? Is that a big part of what you're working on in the technology area?
Yeah, I mean, all around, our customers are important to us, and the security of our customers' information. So we want to ensure that the platforms that we're building, especially the platforms that we want to put forward for other companies to use to drive their own business, are going to be able to handle the data requirements for a company from a confidential perspective, but also being a global company, there are a lot of regional and country-specific laws around different attributes of this information. U.S. Customs Border Patrol, they're pretty strict around what information they want from the documentation that is tied to these shipments is shared with other countries outside of the U.S. So there are varying degrees of data security that we need to take into context as we build out our platforms.
Interesting. So we're going to take a break here from our sponsors, but when we get back, we want to dig into what you handle with security operations for this shipping and tracking and the kind of global visibility, and what that means for you working in security. Be right back.
Blockframe Technology offers next-generation blockchain-managed trust and security. Unique non-fungible tokens are used to secure software bills of materials to provide data quality and security for every transaction in your supply chain. Deploy advanced peer-to-peer product security, scale zero trust capability to millions of IoT devices, allow vendor tracking and accountability, and rapidly reset from compromise. Unchangeable, time-sequenced blockchain data provides next-generation security using machine learning trust algorithms and audit analytics. Start securing your supply chain today by contacting Blockframe at www.blockframetech.com.
Welcome back to New Cyber Frontier. Today on with Taylor Mary, the Director for Security Operations at Flexport. And we're talking supply chain here and global shipping. We went through a lot of the details of what that means, what it means for the customers, the different logistics of what's in that information that is collected and kept about routes and end-to-end transports and bill of materials and what's shipped. Now, looking and digging into the security operations, what does security, what are all the components that your job entails looking at for security in this shipping and supply chain area?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, it's the whole end-to-end program. I oversee security operations and security engineering. So we have areas of security operations center where we're building up the monitoring, detection, response capabilities for ensuring that all of our infrastructure remains secure, all of our information assets, that we have good visibility over our entire ecosystem. That we have people who are trained and able to respond to any sort of incident that may be arising. Have a team of engineers within security operation that are working on enabling protection-based technologies that provide enterprise and product level controls over our systems and infrastructure. And then a security engineering team that helps to kind of has two facets. One of them is about security by design, about really focusing in on product security, thinking early in the life cycle about partnering with product managers to ensure that we build security into the foundational requirements before our engineering teams start to build a product. And so then their alter ego is the one that wants to go in and break things and see if the engineers did what they were supposed to do, if they did it in the right, consistent manner. So, we do that through basic application security testing, the standard tooling that you'd have in any software development organization, penetration testing, bug bounty programs, and all of those sorts of things.
Yeah.
So we really are focusing on building out kind of the end-to-end capabilities to help keep Flexport secure.
Interesting. Do you have a lot of people, I'm thinking like UPS when I watch them, a lot of people with the handhelds that do the shipment tracking at all the different points? Is that part of this model, or how's that affect?
Yeah. I mean, we have a little bit of technology that are tied to mobile apps that are used within, they're used by our partners. They're used by folks in warehouses that are managing any of the items that we store within the warehouses and such. But we don't have quite a fleet like UPS, which has a freight arm, but when you think of UPS, you're thinking of that kind of last mile shipment. We're kind of that intermediate, mostly focused around business to business sorts of shipments, which is a little bit of a different space. There are a lot of different partners and players in that ecosystem that have a lot of different capabilities for tracking, and it's usually through partnerships and collaborations that will tie together in with their systems in order to collect and aggregate some of the data so that we can know, which containers are on a container ship. And so then when we know that those containers are loaded on a particular ship, we can track that ship as it transits the Pacific and, add that to the visibility that we provide for our customers, something that they might not otherwise have dealing with other freight forwarders, because again, the freight forwarder is that abstraction layer. They're making it easy for a customer to not have to think about how does my container get from a warehouse to the port. What trucking companies do I need to find to go and pick it up, get it there on time so that it gets on the right ship, transits, and then how do we offload and then deal with the customs on either end and making sure that we get what we need to do there and on time. So in the context of that network, you have handoffs with multiple different providers. It isn't as simple as, a single scanner that someone's running around with and scanning that container, the different endpoints, because they're all different organizations, different companies.
Interesting. So I was talking to somebody earlier about software bill of materials and what software is on what systems. You guys work in the digital supply chain and keeping track of, what's on those systems, or is it more of the physical?
Yeah, I mean that's definitely an aspect of the platforms that we're building. We're building software, we're building technology, and in that capacity, we have our own supply chain types of issues. Whereby, if we're talking about any sort of licensed product that we're bringing in and either providing back or using internally. We have notion of when we're building our platform, sometimes we're pulling in open source libraries and things along those lines. So there's lots of need of tracking supply chain, understanding where things are coming from, so that in the event that there is an issue with one of those components of the infrastructure, that we're able to address it in a timely manner.
But more so just for your internal products. You don't do that for your customers, or do you do that as well?
Well, I mean, we're building a technology platform for global shipping and logistics. It isn't as much a product that is going to help a company with their own software challenges, like another software security company. This is more in tune with freight forwarding and the platform that provides the logistical viewpoint of freight moving around the world.
Interesting. So what other kind of things do you deal with that people thinking about supply chain might need to be concerned with, that might be helpful from a security perspective?
Sure. Well, I mean, it's really about knowing what you are bringing in, having good processes in place, having good capabilities to be able to scan and understand the landscape. There are a lot of different security controls on the IT side, lots of different monitoring capabilities that need to be well thought out and well structured. Having really good relationships with business teams to really understand what their roadmaps are, and what sort of technology challenges are they dealing with today, and building out an organization that is going to be able to help to partner so that we can make the right selections on technology. We can properly catalog them. We know who is maintaining them, if anyone at all. One of the worst things is when software gets abandoned. Some people are still using it, but it's not being maintained anymore, and you run into issues. A lot of the not all of them, but a lot of different software supply chain types of attacks have had a element of people not keeping up with software updates. Of course, it can go the other way if an organization gets compromised, and since their own supply chain is breached. But at the end of the day, really having that good hygiene, really knowing what you have in your environment is kind of paramount to keeping as safe as you possibly can.
Okay. Anything that you need or could use put out to our listener base about things you need for your company or upcoming events, or just support you're needing?
Yeah, well,
Hiring. I'm not sure where you're at with all this stuff.
Well, I mean, I think everyone in security knows that hiring is pretty hard right now, and well, has been for a while. There are lots of lots of conversations around shortage of security talent, which, I can certainly agree with, having had to do a lot of hiring in the past year. But it's really important to just put the time in to look under every rock, because sometimes you find a lot of really security interested people with really interesting backgrounds that might not have that perfect security skill set, but have that aptitude to become a really good team player. That's what we had looked into recently with teaming up with an apprenticeship program, and are looking to bring in some really solid women veterans into our organization to help to bolster our security operations team. So hiring is definitely critical for us. I'm going to be growing a lot more next year in all functions. So
we hope you have enjoyed this episode of New Cyber Frontier. Remember to get involved. Often we think that someone else will handle privacy and security in the virtual world, but you are the only one truly in command of your virtual fate. Join our mailing list so we can keep you informed of breaking news and new releases. If you have an idea, if you have a question that you would like to hear answered, or if you want to get involved with our efforts, reach out to us at newcyberfrontier.com. We also encourage you to visit our sponsors' links, as they are the ones that really make this show possible. I want to thank each of you for supporting the show, and we look forward to seeing you back for the next episode of New Cyber Frontier.